There is now an official complaint by the ICC against Donald Trump. Let's unpack it. I'm so excited. Now, before anyone gets carried away, settle down. Settle down. There's lots of nuance here, okay? But in understanding the nuance and then plugging that into the big picture, I am really excited. Now, big shout out to Mortera, who I believe is the first one to break this news, and she brought the receipts. She's who I found the complaint from. It was in her stories. I tagged her in the caption here. Please go watch. You can hear her take on this and see what she sees about all this. Fantastic work once again. So here's what we know. As of May 5th, Eric Iverson, who is a prosecutor with the International Criminal Court, also known as The Hague in the Netherlands, has filed a formal complaint against not just Donald Trump, but a number of people in his cabinet. So here's the first page of that complaint, and I will add a link to this in a caption, or not in a caption, in a comment. Now, before we get carried away, this is not in response to what's happening in Venezuela, El Salvador, with CECOT, and the prisoners. The prisoners, it's not about that. This is actually in response to an executive order that Trump made, which was limiting the authority of the ICC and, according to Iverson's complaint, effectively blocking his ability to do his job as a special prosecutor looking into war crimes and human rights abuses, particularly in Sudan. Now, in light of that, some could argue that this has nothing to do with what we've been talking about with The Hague. I've made a few videos about that. Number one, when I called it the Threads of Fate prophecy, that I wove this in. And number two, when I made a video, I explicitly said, let's talk about The Hague. But it doesn't mean it's not related. And here's why I'm excited about that. The chief complaint I get, number one, that people, whenever I talk about this, people say, but the ICC has no jurisdiction in the United States, number one. And number two, that it doesn't matter if they even file a charge or issue a warrant. It doesn't mean anyone's going to uphold it here in the United States. And those are all true. And I have unpacked that in the previous video. So if you want to know my full thoughts, please go there and watch that. But here's where my mind goes, both in reading the energy and the logic of this situation. This to me feels like a direct push against the limitations of the Hague and the ICC in the United States. In my mind, I could see this case continuing and not only pushing back. Well, right now it's just a formal complaint, okay? He hasn't formally sued him, but this is kind of like the first step. So in my mind, I see this continuing. Again, as Trump and his lawyers fight this will escalate. And this can be used to directly push back, maybe essentially cancel the executive order and what things are being done to limit the authority of the ICC here and to prosecute those crimes. And what does that do? That opens the door to more jurisdiction, and that shines a bright red beacon right on Trump and what they're doing. In addition to, isn't it suspicious? Isn't it suspicious that was one of the executive orders, was placing sanctions on the ICC, almost as though they knew, I'm wildly speculating, but it's almost as though they knew they'd be up to no good. They'd be up to no good, bringing a lot of heat on them, and they didn't want the authorities to have any ability to prosecute them for what they were doing. And this complaint and the escalation thereof could potentially push back, nullify, cause that whole thing to cave, their whole resistance effort to cave. And remember what I always say, everything Trump does hastens his demise. It's another thread in the threads of fate. Everything he does is denied, blocked, pushed back, canceled, or continues to be the rope by which he hangs himself. Now, another complaint I got on a little pushback on that video is that people have said, but there is no formal complaint by Venezuela in the ICC. And that's fair because I've dug around and I haven't found anything legal. I haven't found like a legal document or anything that would verify that. But what I heard in that video, you can go back and look at the comments. My friends and followers from all over the world, especially in South America and Spanish-speaking countries, they're reporting it. They're talking about it. And I've seen the video of a representative from El Salvador in the room in the ICC where the complaint was being brought. Now, could it be about something else? Sure. Could it be out of date? Sure. But here's why I care. If you've been following me, you know I am a psychic medium. I am a channel, and I've been doing a number of events where I have received information about this administration, about the whole house of cards and how it crumbles. And Spirit has specifically pointed me to the ICC as playing a big role in the crumbling. Now, I also have a background as a journalist. So if I was just putting on my journalism hat and putting away my intuitive hat, I might initially think this doesn't have legs, it's not going to be the thing. Sure. But then I would also do my due diligence to research, and I would be tracking down what my lovely commenters have said about what's being reported in South America. I don't have access to those tools right now just as a private citizen, but as a journalist, I'd be doing more of that. And side note, if you and my comments have access to that, please share. Give us the receipts. But me putting back my psychic medium hat and reading the energy on this could be why Spirit has shown me the ICC being involved. Now they're officially involved. Now the heat is actually put on this administration. And if you watched my last video, my psychic story time where I talked about how ignoring my intuition gave me the worst haircut ever, you know, that for that reason and so many others, I trust my intuition now. Lesson learned. At the time I was getting that information about the ICC, I didn't logically know how it fit. So at first I just tucked it aside. But when it kept coming back repeatedly, I said, okay, there's something big here. We need to pay attention. And that's when I started sharing information that was then corroborated by my lovely friends and family on TikTok. At the end of the day, this is a developing story. It's one I'm really excited about, but we're going to wait. We're going to see how it unfolds, okay? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And now there's a lot of heat with Trump at the ICC. So we will see how this goes and get very excited along the way.